What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Early Edge. A very happy Friday. We're 34 days away from NFL kickoff. Put your favorite 34 in the chat. 22 days from college football kickoff. And good news, if you missed us on CBS Sports Network yesterday, that entire show is on the SportsLine YouTube channel. It was College Football Futures with Mike McClure, Mackenzie Brooks, and of course our very own Chip Patterson. I should say Friday's very own Chip Patterson. Check that out. We've got the AFC, NFC previews on the SportsLine YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed. Tell your friends about that channel as well. Let's see how we did on Thursday. A little funny business with canceling the game early. So Mike McClure's +1.5 play gets a push instead of what I thought was going to end up being a win. But obviously there was plenty of time to go in that one. My Bears first half play +0.5 loses. They were down 17-14 at halftime. Overall, though, 2-3 and a push. Not great. We got to do a little bit better. Thank you to Sniper for going 2-0. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a big show, and it's not just because of all you in the chat. Brandon Silva, David Talk, Big Cheesy, Mark, Brian, Robert Frazier in here. Hit the like button and prepare yourselves for Big Pick Energy Friday. Here we go. We got shadow boxing. We got talent twirling. We got dancing from Buckets off a 5K. And Mike McClure invested in a book. We wouldn't want it any other way. Buckets, I got to start with you. You ran a 5K yesterday. You posted a picture about it. I've got a fun tweet coming out after this show because I noticed something in the picture that I think is pretty great. Not a bad thing. Pretty great. Anyway, how was the 5K?
Well, now you got me nervous. What did you notice?
I know. Well, I can't tell you. I'm going to post it. Don't worry, it's not bad. It's actually quite good.
Okay, the 5K was fun. I was proud of myself for finishing it. It was one of those fun beer 5Ks where you're supposed to drink during it, like you hit a mile and you shoot something real quick. I could not do that because I was already throwing up during the darn thing. But I had a good time and I finished it, and that's all that matters to me.
All right. Well, you know what? You know what I think we need, because I thought that was quite the pick-me-up. You ran a 5K. Not a lot of people do that. I think the Beer Incorporation is very interesting. We picked it up. We picked it up a little bit, but I think we need to chip it up a little bit. Can we get a chip me up?
Good morning, Sia. Good morning, Buckets. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Danny. Good morning, Snake. Good morning, Early Edge fam. We are rocked up with locks. We are rock monstered up with locks, and we are ready to get you going on your weekend. Hot and ready.
Hot and ready. Chip, you were on fire yesterday during the college football preview, by the way. I loved the pace of that show. We got so many picks out, so much analysis out. Mike McClure, you obviously helped with that. Somebody wants to know in the chat, it's Alex Polito. He wants to know, Mike, what are you reading?
It is a book on football analytics, actually, and programming in Python. Great book, great resource. You will not learn to build necessarily just from this book. But if you have a little background in programming, you can definitely use this. Or if you want to sit down and learn, you can definitely learn a little bit more about some of the football analytics.
And don't forget, Mike's going to be joining me on Fantasy Football Today, DFS, throughout the entire season. Danny Brasco, you're here for UFC, but you break down a lot of football as well. By the way, Liddy and DJ say Bo Jackson. That's their favorite 34. That makes a lot of sense. Danny, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great. Now that book that Mike is reading is required reading for my computer science engineering friends who will now need to take their skill set and apply it to how I can win football bets. Really upsetting that we couldn't get the cash on Bears money line and +1.5. I was with that. I was with you on that, Mike. I thought Tyson Bagent was going to show up a little more. Ended up being Ripon going on, but we could. Because I've never lost a football bet or pushed a football bet due to a rain delay. Sia, what is that?
Yeah, that's not great. Lightning. That's what happens in the preseason. All right, let's go Buckets. Let's start. We got a full show here. Let's start with some official soccer picks. You have the floor, my friend.
Sia, today we welcome back two different Bundesligas, and we're going to start with the Zweite Bundesliga in Germany, which is the second flight of German soccer, and we have truly a tremendous game to start off that season. We've got FC Cologne versus Hamburg FC. Cologne is a newly relegated side. This is a team that just last year was playing in the Bundesliga against the likes of Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund. And now they're playing against Hamburg. Cologne did lose some key players over this transfer period, but this is still probably two of the best, if not the two best teams playing in the Zweite Bundesliga this season. I'm going with the classic same game parlay here of both teams to score and over 2.5 goals. I know that it's the first game back, but these are two teams that have been absolutely dominating over the past 2 months during their friendlies, and two teams that want to start on the right foot, which means I'm expecting goals from both ends of the pitch here. Then we also welcome back the Austrian Bundesliga. This match is at 2:30, so it's starting at the same time. And we have a good match here between Grazer AK versus RB Salzburg. And I'm going again with the classic here. Just both teams to score currently priced at -125. RB Salzburg are and have been the big dogs of the Austrian Bundesliga for the better part of the last decade now. And Grazer's going through a little bit of a baptism by fire. They're a newly promoted side, and their very first match in the top flight, they're playing the big dogs of this league. They're not going to beat Salzburg. Salzburg probably score 3 or 4 here, but Grazer are good enough with the likes of Dana and with the likes of some of their strikers to get at least one, if not multiple goals here. I'm expecting a ton of goals this afternoon in both of these matches.
All right, a ton of goals. Gipper's Picks has a parlay in UFC I want to get to, because we're going to get to your picks, Danny Brasco, but there's a question first. Buckets from Brian Smith. He says, do you like anything in this USA match going on right now?
Last I saw, Morocco was up 1-0 at halftime. I did do a SportsLine article on this one where I actually leaned towards Morocco winning this game, but I did say that USA would be good enough to get a goal. So if you can bet USA to score right now and it's playable odds, I don't have the odds in front of me, that is something I would definitely look at.
All right. And I'm looking at Gipper's Picks play, by the way. And I need like a decoder for some of this UFC stuff. Danny, maybe you can help me out before you give out your 3 picks. But Gipper's Picks says, my favorite UFC parlay, Bedoya over 1.5, Dern start 3, Vera start 3, plus 106. That's a completely different language. Brasco, what do you think of that? And then launch into your picks when you can.
Yeah, my guy Gipper's Picks always firing off some useful UFC picks and information in the chat. I don't mind that. An interesting way to bet UFC is building it round prop betting instead. Not even the over 1.5 or over 2.5, but he's added fight to start round 2, fight to start round 3. So you're not waiting for that halfway mark. That's an interesting way, and I like all the fights he's putting down. I see those going long. But into the UFC Abu Dhabi this Saturday, I will go. And it's an interesting card halfway across the country. I'm going to start with the only UAE fighter on the card actually from Abu Dhabi. And it's in a fight that I believe will go over 1.5 rounds between Caio Fernandez and Muhammad Yahya. And the over at -145 is a pretty good number, I feel like. So I'm going to play it here. I feel like that this over 1.5 should probably be over 2.5 at this line between Yahya and Fernandez. Yahya, like I said, only guy from the UAE. He's not all that dangerous. He kind of is one of those guys that fights like he spars, just sort of scoring points on the outside, throwing, but not anything heavy and damaging. And his style lends itself towards going to decisions. Caio Fernandez is like a -400 favorite in this spot. It's likely because he has a big grappling advantage, but I also don't see him being overly dangerous either. I think this fight ends up going potentially the distance in a closer one than the odds reflect. I'm not always a big round better, but last week's cashed with flying colors, so I'll stick to what's working and go the over 1.5 rounds at, I think, a discounted price in this matchup. Next fight, Sia, you know I'm going plus money. I'm going to the main card, and I like Lupi Godinez, Lupita on your sports books. I think she has a great stylistic matchup against Mackenzie Dern this weekend. Dern is a long-time top 10 strawweight contender, the jiu-jitsu ace, right? Some of the best grappling in the division, fantastic submission attacks. But the thing about Dern is that she's a very opportunistic grappler. She doesn't have great offensive takedowns. She needs a scramble or a moment to get in that dominant position. She can't always create it herself. And when she can't, she finds herself behind the 8 ball. Her boxing defense is a liability. In so many matchups against crispier strikers, she takes damage. And her striking just has never improved. She has bad movement. She has bad posture. It's not just the way the punches are coming out. It's the way she's kind of wonky, wobbling around the octagon in her movement. And I think Lupi Godinez has that tight, crisp, pressure Mexican boxing that she can put on her. She throws tight hooks in the pocket. If they exchange in there, I expect Dern to take damage. And she's got good ground skills. She can handle herself on the ground. So as long as she doesn't give up her back and stay stuck in defense for too long, I think Lupi puts it on Mackenzie Dern and gets the biggest win of her career in this spot. And finally, guys, no one yell at me, but this is for the culture. I'm doing it. El Cocoy, Tony Ferguson, throw a half unit in the air and pray it comes back at plus 470 on your side. Because, oh my goodness, guys, this was a man that was once slated to face Khabib Nurmagomedov, the fight that never happened. And all of a sudden, here we are in 2024 with Ferguson on a 7-fight losing streak, a lot of those happening in brutal fashion. The guy got his head bashed in by Justin Gaethje, was never the same, had his arm nearly snapped off by Charles Oliveira. And in all of these fights, he refuses to quit, if we want to say anything good about him, right? I mean, he has no quit in him. The guy's facing Michael Chiesa, who's a -750 favorite. Chiesa's a pure grappler, guys. I don't, in no world should Chiesa against any opponent be a minus 750 favorite. For just on general principle, if Tony can keep it standing at all, I think he can have a couple moments. Maybe there's a prayer that he can snap the most brutal losing streak we've seen in the sport's history. Tony, for the people, for the 7 fights that we lost betting you before, cash us all back at plus 470. There's my prayer for Abu Dhabi. See ya.
Wow. As usual, incredible takes from Danny Brasco. And I don't know what this means.
Man. It's actually not a showdown. I got a question for you, Danny, about the culture here with Tony Ferguson. If you did want to put in half a unit for the culture, as you say, but you wanted to go maybe a little bit more extreme than just the money line, would you rather take the submission by plus 1,200 or the KO for Ferguson at plus 1,600?
Buckets is all over it. Michael Chiesa is a grappler who loves to get reversed at times. He has 3 losses in his career by Darce choke. Vicente Luque, Jorge Masvidal, and in his last fight, Kevin Holland. Tony Ferguson by Darce choke loading submission plus 1,200 it is, Buckets.
Let's do it. I'm putting it in as we speak. Thank you, Danny.
Wow, that was amazing. Buckets, I gotta stick with you real quick because Bradley Jacobs is in the chat. Changing gears back to soccer before we get to some baseball and some golf. He says, Buckets, we have a great match today between, I'm going to screw this up probably, Radolmje versus Dunzal. I'm leaning both teams to score. Any thoughts on that one?
Let me read the message from Bradley because I don't know what teams you just said, so it's going to take me a second. Okay. Yes. No, that's fair. That's fair. Absolutely BTTS. It's not a league that I do a lot with, but it is a bet that I'm totally okay taking. Sorry, I kind of threw myself off. Also, real quick to switch back, Danny, him to win by submission is plus 1,200. Him to win by Darce is plus 1,400. So if it's going to be submission, they think it's going to be the Darce.
And normally exact method of submission is plus $1 million, right? So just to get $2 more on that line shows that that's the most likely method in the book's eyes as well.
All right. That is a very healthy discussion. We got to transition to baseball. We got to transition to golf. And Chip, I have a college football question, just a quick hitter, favorite college football bet from yesterday's show that I'm going to hit with you right after we go to break. But real quick, if you want to make any of these bets, of course, you know where to go. BetMGM. New BetMGM customers can sign up today and get up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Just place your first wager of at least $10, and you'll receive up to $1,500 instantly if your bet loses with bonus code EDGE. That's bonus code EDGE, EDGE. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got to go to a break real quick, and we got to get you to hit the like button real quick. Here's a quick break from our partners. We are back on the early edge presented by BetMGM. CLE fan says, hit a plus 28,000 parlay. Wow. It looks like that might have been a home run parlay. He says, one of the best hits of my life. 4 home runs. They all hit. That's pretty amazing. We've got some bets from Big Cheesy in here that we'll get to. But real quick, Chip, before we get to Mike McClure's baseball play, we gave out so many bets yesterday. You, Mike, and Mackenzie Brooks specifically. What's one that stands out to you that if somebody missed that show and has to catch up later, it's on the SportsLine YouTube channel. What's one that you really kind of wanted to lean into?
Yeah, what I would say is go down to your local apparel store, where they sell, things from all the different colleges. You go and you look for the Kansas State hoodie. You buy it and you put it on, and you know what? Maybe you pick up like some Ohio State shorts on the way out, because I was amazed at how like in sync we were. Like if there's a couple spots where we seem to be really, really dialed, it is Kansas State. It is Avery Johnson. Ken's and I were both hitting on Jalen Milroe as a potential Heisman play. A lot of Ohio State. I think that. No, you could almost go back to that show and build out fandom. Like if you don't have a college football team right now, you could go and you could sort of coordinate all your different bets and just basically have, 3 or 4 college football teams that you'll be rooting for the whole year.
It's such an incredible recommendation because there are people that don't have a huge college football affiliation for whatever reason. Maybe they didn't go to a big college football school. I thought the pace of that show and the picks from that show were really good. And it's funny because, Mike, you're about to give out a baseball pick, but we talked about yesterday on that college football futures show how you gave out the look-ahead line on Avery Johnson. Of course, that's the Kansas State quarterback at 70-1 in January. You gave it out on this show at 50-1 a couple of months or a few months after that. And now it's down to 25-1. And you still like it at that number. Just real quick comment on that. And let's hear your MLB play for today.
Yeah, just Avery Johnson, just an absolute freak. 24/7 Sports does the freaks list, was the only quarterback to make it last year. Using the Spark athleticism score, he outscored Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts. True dual threat, but it's also just the schedule. Super soft schedule. They're favored in literally every game this season. So I think he's going to have some big opportunity. Now to the baseball play. Awesome matchup today here. We've got Tariq Skubal and Cole Reagans, true aces on the mound. However, the difference is the offense is behind them. When I look at this Detroit Tigers team, especially against left-handed pitching, they're just 25th in Major League Baseball in terms of team weighted on base average. The Royals touched up Skubal a little bit last time out, got him for 4 runs, which is quite a bit for a starter like Skubal. But the pitching environment, it is a strong negative park shift in terms of for Cole Reagans here. It's a lot easier to pitch in Detroit than it is in Kansas City. I think that helps him a lot. This Royals team is playoff bound right now. The Tigers certainly are not. But looking at Skubal here, I think he pitches 6 innings in this game. I think the Royals get a few off of him and win against the bullpen. But it's really the price point here. The market just absolutely loves Tariq Skubal, and he's been a phenomenal starting pitcher, but it's gotten a little out of control at this particular point. So I have the Royals winning 54%. That means we should see a price point of -116 on the Royals side. Played them here at even money.
All right, we definitely have an edge per your analytics, Mike McClure. So we're taking the Royals even money, and then I'll transition quickly to my play. Cardinals money line on the road against the Cubs. Now, the Cardinals went out. They think they can make the playoffs. They think they can make a push. I do too. And they've got Eric Fetty on the mound because they went and got him from the White Sox. One of the few pitchers that was actually somehow getting wins for the White Sox. He shows up for the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are the better team than the Cubs pretty much in every category. When we're looking at bullpens, a little bit better there. When we're looking at bats, a little bit better there. Although I will say the Cubs bats against righties in particular have been heating up a little bit. But we look at the starting pitcher as well. Javier Assad, he's been okay. The ERA is okay, but a lot of the advanced metrics and the expected ERA, things like that, not so great for Javier Assad. I bet on him before, and he's let me down this season. I just think Eric Fetty's the much better option. I think the St. Louis Cardinals are the much better option. I think this shouldn't be -110. It's partly -110 because they're on the road. They're coming off a loss yesterday. I think this should be like -125, maybe even sneak into -130. I didn't take the first 5 because I wanted to lean into the bullpen a little bit more for St. Louis and the bats getting those extra at-bats, including the top of the 9th. I think the first 5 is fine as well, of course, but I'm going to go Cardinals money line full game -110. All right, that's 2. Oh, by the way, you're welcome if it wins because that's a 2:20 start. This is afternoon baseball. Danny Brasco, go ahead.
I had the under 8 in that one last night. They blow the lead, ends 5-4, so they owe me. You and also cash over half, by the way, as a parlay piece.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. What are we at? 3 on by the ways? I gotta. The For the Records and by the ways are having a battle with each other. All right, speaking of battles, we still got golf going on over in France in the Olympics. Chip Patterson, last time you did this, you came to the show on a Friday, and I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it was last week, I believe, and you had Justin Rose at like +200 to top 10 or top 20. It could have been 2 weeks ago. So we were like 2 or 3 days removed from appreciating whether that was going to hit or not. Well, it did hit quite easily, if memory serves. You got another play just like that for the Olympics. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, and you know, to be clear, you've asked me about my process. I was big on Joaquin Niemann coming into this. I got a Joaquin Niemann top 10 sort of full unit play, and this is getting a little greedy, taking another bite at the apple. And when I put this in before the show was going on, he's like rounding the turn on 9. Horrible approach shot into 10, ends up getting a bogey on 10, picks it up, gets it back with some more birdies coming in. But the 18th hole has been a beast here at Le Golf Nacional. It has been the toughest hole both days. And so when I say this, I'm saying he also picked up a bogey on 18. I still like getting another bite at the apple with the little Joaquin Niemann top 5. 260. I'm looking at it right now. Over 300 as he just like bogeyed 18 about 5 minutes ago. So the point is about the golfer, because what we see when we look at this leaderboard are absolute flushers of the golf ball, and Joaquin Niemann definitely checks that box. I mean, we're seeing Xander, we're seeing John Rahm, Tommy Fleetwood, Hideki Matsuyama, and of course, Joaquin Niemann as he currently sits at T9. That is the style of golfer that is going to be able to continue to be successful. Today wasn't the best day, 3 birdies, 2 bogeys, but I am not shaken from my pre-tournament belief, even after 36 holes. I think Joaquin Niemann makes his way up into the top 5, and right now you can get it at a payout of better than 3-1.
Chip, let me ask you this, because it's not exactly a delicious number here, but Xander's plus 200 to win this whole thing. Is there any value on either betting him? And Mike, I'm going to go to you on this too, to see if you have an opinion here. This is one of those where we might want to abstain, right? Because we got Xander, then Tommy Fleetwood, who can never seem to close at plus 280, then Hideki at plus 300, then you get to Rahm at plus 650. Do you see any value in taking anybody here in terms of winning the whole thing?
I would work my way further. Like I would take a bite at John Rahm probably just because of the increased value. He's coming off the win on the Live Tour. Things have slowly been moving in the right direction. We saw like that great Sunday finish at the Open Championship where he went really, really low, worked himself up into the top 10. I think Xander could win this. I think Hideki could win this. The thing that would have me abstaining is not a lack of faith in either of those golfers, but just the fact that there are so many other capable talents right up there at the top.
Mike McClure, any value in looking at any outright numbers currently?
It would be John Rahm for me. I love John Rahm this week, played him a lot in DFS. The first round was fascinating for him because the front 9, he was just kind of hovering around even par and then really turned it on talking about round 1 and has been great since. Hit almost every single fairway today. And when I look at Rahm, though, it's going back all the way to Live Nashville. In front of Live Nashville, he had a press conference where he talked about he finally likes the shape of the ball. He likes the ball flight. He finally is happy again. Since that press conference, he's been T3, T10, T7, and a win. Now these no-cut events, it's exactly where he thrives. So I think he looks phenomenal. And I think out of a lot of these different players up there, he definitely has a ton of pride in representing his country, which I think cannot be understated at the Olympics.
God, when I have a gut feel and then Mike backs it up, excuse me, I'm going to need a minute.
It's mostly the price point. Like if John Rahm had been playing on the PGA Tour week in, week out, and still in that form, his price point would be a lot closer to Xander's where it is. So it's mostly just there's a lot of data where we had 6 months of relatively poor golf from John Rahm. I personally am willing to throw all of that out from what I've seen over the last 6 to 7 weeks.
Yeah, he'd be at 250, 260 if he would be up in that spot. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I see Taylor DeHart here saying repping Rahm as well. I know, Taylor, you tweeted at me asking me about Rahm plays because you were all over him pre-tournament. I told you I was abstaining from Rahm. I didn't like him one way or the other, positively or negatively, but clearly Mike McClure, Chip Patterson on your trail. So good luck to John Rahm backers and, of course, Joaquin Niemann backers. Let's take a look at the recap screen before we get out of here. And by the way, shout out to whoever brought up Walter Payton days away from football season. Sweetness indeed. All right, I'm trying to keep it sweet this afternoon with Cardinals money line minus 110 on the road against the Chicago Cubs. Mike McClure, Royals money line, even money, Buckets. Here we go. Cologne, Hamburg, both teams to score plus over 2.5 at minus 130. And Gratzer and RB Salzburg, both teams to score minus 125. I think I got that one. Danny Brasco, UFC Abu Dhabi, 3 picks here. Yaya Fernandez over 1.5 rounds at minus 145. Lupita Godinez money line plus 110. And Tony Ferguson money line plus 470. And finally, we've got somewhat of a future. Joaquin Niemann top 5 at the Olympics when it's all said and done plus 260. What a great show, full of content. You're going to want to catch all the content on SportsLine. Again, we've got the NFC, AFC previews. We got college football previews, and we're going to be flooding the SportsLine YouTube channel and CBS Sports Network with so much content, football and otherwise, as we approach football season. Big Cheesy says, good luck today, fam. Good luck indeed. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. We'll see you very soon. Thanks for the support. Thanks for hitting the like button. Thanks for the participation. Have a great Friday, everybody. I'm the Counselor of Cash. On behalf of Jake the Snake on the ones and twos, Chip Patterson, Buckets, Brasco, and Mike McClure, we rest our case.